So you've got to be able to prove this out. Neil, talk about that real quick. You've done some POCs that have resulted in big wins.
Yeah, and I guess there's kind of two levels of that if you think about it. And we as providers, you got to figure out, are we going to spend 700 hours doing a POC to maybe win the deal? And what our approach has been, and I mean, there's some people in the room here that have done, is we have a demo farm set up that here's your office, here's an exchange that works on the internet, try it works, try it from whatever device. I think the big difference where we're using, at least for us, where we're seeing the difference between a POC and an implementation is really just a contract. It's only paperwork. Because what really happens is they have their network, what they're currently doing, in place. And one of the great sales points on going to infrastructure in the cloud, desktop, whatever, is that you really get a chance to kind of re-vet all your processes, take a look at all your software, all your configuration, and all the things that have been bolted on or whatever. You get to kind of start again, which takes care, you know, the old joke is, 90% of every Windows problems fixes with a reboot. So if you get to rebuild your entire network and be asking questions through the implementation about why are we doing this? Is this best practice? You can't do that when you're in an in-place network with 700 users and you've got to get business out the door. It's how do I remediate instead of becoming proactive? This is the key here. This is a huge selling point, is a chance to come back to your client's network and say, we're going to start fresh. It doesn't affect production, and then when we cut over, you can always go back. If the plane falls on the building and everybody gets hit by the beer truck on the way to work, you just go back where you were, to always step back. And that's huge, to have a chance to rebuild, because what's really happened in the last 10 years with technology, it's gotten much better, much more efficient, much more complicated. There's no more the guy that runs all of IT. It's an Exchange person, it's a SQL person, it's a mass person, it's a link person, whatever it is. More complicated and make us more efficient, you're just adding on, and what you end up with is a mess. So it's a chance to fix the mess. One thing on this, I think it's really important that everybody realizes there's not one conversation here. I think that's why the name of this panel is about the politics. You've got to have about 8 conversations in your back pocket, and within about the first 5 minutes of asking questions and listening, you got to figure out which one of those conversations you're going to have. Because you may be having one with a technical person that's the gate to get to the decision maker. They can be your advocate or not. How do you get around it? And so it's knowing what those conversations are, because I can tell you with IT people, and it's probably everybody in general, there's stuff they really like to do, and then there's the rest of their job. How do you enable them to do the stuff they want to do and take the rest of the stuff that is their job off their plate? Make them look like a hero, walk it in. We've got some IT people that say, this is exactly what I want to do. They're bringing you to the C-levels, and others won't return your phone call. So it's knowing which conversation to have and having them canned.
So that's a good segue. Let's talk about the director of IT. This is a C-level decision ultimately, right? That we've got to get up much higher in the C-suite to be able to get these deals done. But many of us are positioned, like it or not, at the director level, at the director of IT level. That's where we get introduced. That's our first call. That's who invites us in. What are those best practices that you guys are finding that work, that actually turn that guy into a champion, and so that he's not feeling threatened by this solution, right? How do you turn the director of IT into a champion around a cloud strategy?
I think, to your point about defining what they do and kind of giving that more strategic focus. If the problem though sets in though when you've got a guy who only knows how to patch servers and that's his value to the company, that is a job that's
there's a program that lets him patch them though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
we can work that out. I mean, just to add on to that, I think it's about being flexible. I mean, it's the shut up and listen thing, right? Ask a question, really listen to the answer, because people will tell you what they want, and they will also tell you what they don't want, which is way more important.